Welcome to one of a series of specially created podcasts for SANS related to the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR as it's known. So what is data protection and what is GDPR? So what is data protection and what is GDPR? So welcome to this podcast, which I hope by the end of it you will be a lot clearer, if you're not already, as to what actually data protection and GDPR is all about. So I suppose let's start with the basics. Data protection is very much a hot topic and the news regularly these days, and it affects all of us really, whether it's part of our job or our personal lives. Obviously we are all passing data to companies and trust that they keep it safe. So for the charity sector and specifically, a few high profile cases over the last few years that has really impacted the charities as a whole, the whole sector reputation, and also means that we're under the spotlight as a sector, and we need to make sure that to retain supporter confidence, protect the organisation's reputation, and also if it all goes wrong and supporter data or even more other personal data is actually compromised, then you're also looking at, in terms of fundraising, an impact on income as people essentially lose faith and trust in the organisation and are unsure about how well you're looking after their data. This is essentially becoming a bigger matter to data subjects and supporters, and it's something that the sector has to take really seriously. Very happy to say that the sector is taking this very seriously. Hence we're all talking about GDPR now and making sure that everyone that can help ensure that GDPR is implemented correctly are all trained up, understand what their part in this is. In addition to the sort of impact on the organisation in terms of supporter damage and reputational risk and income, finally there's a piece to consider that it is law, and with non-adherence with the law will come significant potential penalties, may be issued by the Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO as we may refer to it from time to time, of up to 20 million euros, or potentially up to 4% of a worldwide annual turnover of an organisation. Also, there are additional pieces here that can kick in. The ICO does have the ability to actually investigate organisations that fall into trouble with data, and it can also issue warnings, reprimands, and order compliance. It can also, which would be significant for SANS, potentially generate a temporary or definite ban on processing of data, which for a modern organisation in this world of data would be significantly serious and pretty much make impossible most of your day-to-day activities. So now that you've heard about why GDPR and data protection is very important for not only SANS, but obviously first and foremost the data subjects or supporters, it's really probably time we get here with data protection. So we go back to a Data Protection Act in 1984, which was subsequently updated and replaced by the Data Protection Act of 1998, which actually up to the 25th of May 2018 is actually the law that actually is relating to data protection and the rules that everyone should be adhering to if you actually process personal data. We then come to the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation as it's known, which will start and replace the Data Protection Act of 1998 as from 2018. GDPR is actually driven by EU legislation, envisaged to be European-wide piece of data regulation, and it's up to every member country to implement it in their local laws. With this in mind, currently at the date of this podcast being created, there is a data protection bill that is going through the currently House of Lords and then on to Parliament with a view to being enacted into UK law. Now, this data protection bill, we don't know what the final name of it may be, but it's probably the Data Protection Act 2018, quite possibly it will be known as. Here it actually incorporates into UK law the GDPR regulation as approved by EU. So the Data Protection Bill not only will actually include the GDPR legislation, actually have on top additional aspects relating to data security, data privacy, for particular aspects of areas of work. So these are still being finalised, formalised as I speak. So we await to really hear what that actually may formally look like. But clarity should come over the next few months leading up to the 25th of May 2018. Alongside this, we have other legislation which is enforced by the ICO, or Information Commissioner's Office in the UK, and it's known as PECR, P-E-C-R, 2003. PECR is up for discussion and review at EU level. Currently, it's expected that it should be live by the time GDPR goes live as well. Now, we've heard very little really about how that is progressing, but obviously there's a huge focus on getting that ready for the 25th of May as well. It will be known as the e-Privacy Regulation 2018 once it's finalised, and this will cover electronic communication, so that's texts, email, any other electronic form of communication, and so still very much related to data and making sure that you're using it in the way that you're legally allowed to, but with certain separate focuses on the channel of communications that you may be thinking of using. But again, this will be actually overseen by the ICO in the UK, and more will become known on that once it's finalised. And finally, I'm talking a lot about personal data in this podcast, so it's probably a good thing to really clarify for the listener, actually, what do I mean by personal data? So this information relating to a living person who is identified or can be identified from that information. Alongside personal data, there's something that's known as special categories of personal data under GDPR. Under the Data Protection Act, you may have heard this known as sensitive personal data, essentially very much along the same lines of types of data that comes under this particular category, and it can include personal data revealing race or ethnic origins, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, trade union memberships, health, sex life or sexual orientation of a data subject. Now, a data subject is actually any individual that actually you are holding their data of, and that is another common phrase that you may hear during the remaining podcasts. Hopefully by now you understand more of the data protection legislation has come from, what it's about and what it's there to do, and actually why it's really important that all of us play our part in ensuring that we take this seriously and do our best for the supporters and anyone else that we're holding personal data for. Thank you for listening to this podcast about what is GDPR.